know. I feel like there are so many really amazing little Janine moments that I love, but what I've been thinking about a lot today, because I'm a sentimental asshole, was meeting with Janine in our public house in good old Rogers Park to talk to him about this bonkers idea I had that Julie and I would sit in front of microphones and talk shit about Outlander, and that somehow it would become a thing. And it would never have actually become a thing if it weren't for this motherfucker. So he was so encouraging, and he had the equipment, and he had the know-how, and he taught us. My elbows are on the table right now, but I want you to know they usually are not. He taught us to keep our elbows off the table. He taught us, here's a Janine classic. Are you ready? We could use the microphone like this, or we could use it like this. We could use it like this.
Come over here where Allison can't hear.
This is like this. And he was always game to try to figure out how to make our batshit crazy ideas happen. My favorite, which was lost to time.
Oh, God.
Was we were wasted.
So upset that this didn't, yeah.
And
it worked. I'm glad.
Impulsively said, I'm going to go on Twitter and tell people that we want to call people who listen to the show and talk to them. We went to drunk dial listeners, and we had a few people respond, including dear friend of the show, Jen Lander Drunklin, and Alana the breastfeeding mom, who I call Alana the breastfeeding mom because when we mistakenly called her back a second time when we were trying to call someone else, she said, "This isn't whoever, it's Alana the breastfeeding mom," and it was so good.
It was
and then
so funny.
And then the audio file disappeared into the ether. But it was the best time, and that's just one example of, like, Julie and I said, "Hey, we want to do this dumb thing," and Janine always yes-anded, not just with jokes, but with technical know-how, with organizational skills, with follow-through, with focus, with all of the things that made it possible for us to just sort of be idiots and figure it out at the same time. Also, remember the days when we thought Aaron wasn't going to talk?
Yeah. How?
Well,
yeah.
I chalk that up to Allison and me being so fucking entertaining that you could not help yourself. That, like, we would say something about a show you didn't even watch, and you would not be able to stop yourself from in the background being like, "Oh shit." Like,
I do remember the first few episodes being like, I'm not talking here. I'm just going to be looking at them at this thing. And then, yeah, you guys, I mean, they were in France, and there was a lot of great dresses, and everyone was having sex, and there was lots of fighting and kicking and punching. And I was like, well, shit, I'm in. Y'all are good. Y'all are good.
I'd like to salute Janine's microphone for its service. The first change to the podcast that was suggested, nay, demanded by so many listeners that we eventually said, well, wow, I guess we should probably just do this. We crowdsourced some memories that I'm not going to go into just yet because I want to give other people a chance to talk. But I do want to say there were a couple of greatest hits that I'm sure we're about to hear about. A broad overview, statistical overview of Janine's greatest hits.
Speak to him in his language. Speak to him in his language. I see what you're doing.
I can. I try to meet people on their level, but because I'm a rube and he's a literal PhD student, all I can do is make it sound kind of right. Cherry Bounce, obviously. A big favorite. I wish, Aaron, that you could remember it.
I do too. Though everyone has relived it a few times on the Slack, I can almost remember it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, almost.
Cherry Bounce is a big fave. Menstruation Station, also a big fave. Every time multiple sex scenes were mentioned to me. Here is a testament to the undying appeal and earnestness of one Aaron Janine Patrick Pagel. despite the fact that once a season he would get hyper fixated on a sex scene, which normally if a dude got hyper fixated on a sex scene in Outlander, I would think they were a real creep. Yep. He would get hyper fixated on a sex scene, and it would be the best because he was so emotionally invested. So it's like the birthday sex. He'd be so excited, but then also be like, okay, that sounds really hot. That sounds really hot. Maybe I have to watch another episode. Oh my God.
Remember the first time we watched The Wedding with him in the Party Dome, and we were like, this is fucking weird. Press play. It was awesome. Yeah, yep. Your consideration and respect for two loudmouth broads is paramount. I think that's what we're saying.
And your willingness to listen and be open and not be defensive. It's not like there were many times when we had to be like, okay, Janine, seriously, we need to stop for a minute and correct you on some feminist shit. That almost never happens because you're a thoughtful human being. But if we did like push back ever, you were always so open and responsive and not defensive and eager to learn. And I think that comes from empathy, which is a characteristic of this show, not our show of Outlander, but I hope also of our show, and something that you bring to in your personal life, and it really means a lot to all of us. I know. Taryn says, I only like about 5 men at this moment, and Janine is one.